there is this idea that health anxiety is something that gets spurred on out of the blue. It just kind of shows up in our lives, and there it is, right? All of a sudden, we've got this tremendous amount of energy within the body, these feelings that spur on thoughts. And the feelings have everything to do with being threatened by something physical or something imagined or something from the past or something from the present or something from the future that may in fact harm us physically. And health anxiety sufferers go out of their way on a daily basis to protect themselves from anything that could lead to physical catastrophe. And they arrange their lives, right? Knowingly and unknowingly. A health anxiety sufferer will wake up at 8 in the morning and pray to God that during their shower at 8:30, they don't run into heightened physical sensations in regards to anxiety. And then at 9 p.m. they have to eat. And while they're eating, they're so distracted by the potential that their health anxiety gets worse that they don't even realize they're eating. If you ask a health anxiety sufferer what they ate, an hour after they ate it, they probably couldn't remember it. There's a tremendous amount of energy. Oof, it's a windy one. There's a tremendous amount of energy that goes into trying to protect ourselves from anything that threatens us to become deeper in the realm of health anxiety. It's a sandstorm here in Dubai. I love it. So you have to understand that the energy that you put in rearranging your life around trying to protect from further health anxiety could be put towards your healing, right? And your healing doesn't come from the physical. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to face this and I'm going to face that and I'm going to face that. Well, exposure done the right way can help, of course, but we have to understand that this is all in relation to accumulated fear, right? And this could potentially go back 14 generations. I mean, we're dealing with something here, right? Health anxiety is no mistake. Often when someone overcomes health anxiety, they tend to manifest a different form of anxiety, right? This was me, and the social aspect got heightened after health anxiety, or I began to generally feel anxiety at a deeper level. You know, these sorts of things started to happen in my life. So if you're suffering from health anxiety, do not kid yourself thinking that when you heal this, it's all done. That's not the case. You don't heal health anxiety as a health anxiety sufferer. You heal the suppressed feelings and emotions that have been perpetuated on the inside by your mind, right? Your mind is the very thing that is controlling whether you hang on to the elements of anxiety or not, right? And if you continue to follow your lower self, knowing this we call the unconscious part of us, if you continue to follow the direction coming from your lower self, then it's likely that you are going to wear yourself out, okay? Because the lower self likes to distract, right? Don't look at the feeling or the emotion directly, because we don't want to feel what we once felt. So distract yourself instead. Go to your phone, go find somebody, go take a supplement, these sorts of things. Next thing you know, we give up our power, right? We become powerless in the face of health anxiety because we have placed such a high demand on the external helping us with something internally. This is where the mental health system comes in, right? The mental health system in your country is currently broken. It is absolutely 100% broken. But people continue to rely on it because they feel powerless to heal this by themselves. For so long, and through the advertising and through the subconscious program, subliminal programming and all these sorts of things that happen, and through information given to us through our parents and through the school systems and such, we've gotten to a place where we believe that the only way we can take care of something is through something on the outside, and health anxiety is no different. Okay? Now, to heal this at the deepest levels, you must first understand that you have to partake in this healing journey by yourself and through no other means. Because even if you take a supplement while you are in a heightened state of anxiety, the supplement most likely will backfire, right? It's not going to be helpful. And anxiety sufferers in general are very deficient nutrient-wise, and so, they take the vitamin Bs, and they take the zincs, and they take the magnesiums, and they do all the right things. But the problem is they're taking these things while being in an emotional state where it won't be beneficial. Okay, and the same goes for anything that you do while being in that high stress state. So it's not so much the fact that something we do isn't working in regards to health anxiety. The problem is that when you're doing it, right? When you're doing it, you are in a state where it's not conducive, not in line with the direction you want to go, right? You have to pay very close attention to the emotional state as a health anxiety sufferer, the emotional state that you're in while you're eating food, for example, or else you will not benefit from the food that you are eating. What kind of a relationship do you have with the food? While you're eating your food, are you on your phone at the same time, or are you watching TV, or even conversing with somebody else? No, the food doesn't like that, right? You're not going to get the nutrition that you need to from that meal that you would have gotten if in fact you were completely mindful on what it is you were eating in that very moment. Okay? So when it comes to health anxiety healing, one of the most important things is to check in with what sort of emotional state you are in while you are doing things. When you're talking with someone, right? Are you talking with that someone while at the same time paying such close attention to what your health anxiety is doing on the inside? If that's the case, you're 50%, if you're lucky, 50% in the conversation and hearing somebody and responding to them, and 50% internal, right? Trying to protect from something that may get worse, right? In this case, it's the anxiety symptoms, or it's the catastrophic thoughts. So with a health anxiety sufferer, one of the most important things is to recognize what emotional state am I in while I'm doing this, right? Am I completely mindful about what it is I'm eating, or during this shower, or while I'm talking to someone, or while I'm driving? Because it's very important that you send the right signals to your lower self, your unconscious or subconscious sides. And the signal you have to send to your lower self is this: you are no longer going to be the main form of guidance in my life. That's the message, right? And it's not that you're running away from it. You're basically going, you're no longer dictating the decisions that I make throughout the day, okay? And your lower self could show up as a feeling. Oh my God, there's this feeling of, at 1 p.m. I'm invited to X, and now I know it's going to go wrong because I suffer from health anxiety, and everybody's going to see it, and they're going to make fun of me, and it's just going to be a catastrophe, right? This is your lower self in action, all right? Now, when your middle self, or your conscious sides, or your conscious mind steps up and says, you say or not say doesn't matter, but the conscious side of you is either replying to the lower self, saying it's not going to be that way, it's going to be this way instead, or the middle self, right, goes, oh, I hear you. I hear what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep me in a perpetual state of anxiety, therefore maintain this identity that you believe is best suited for my life. And there's a form of inaction. You kind of leave it alone. You leave it to its own, demands, its own energy, right? That is also a form of conscious responding. So you can either reply or a non-reply, knowing that you've heard the directives from the lower self. Either way, it has to happen. Because until this form of response happens on a regular basis, you're going to continue to live by the rules and the demands of your lower self, therefore stay in a perpetual state of health anxiety, concerned over your health when in fact your health is completely fine. The problem is we hear a story out there and we connect it to ourselves, right? We are reminded of some kind of an illness that somebody went through 30 years ago, and now we've got similar symptoms, and we're starting to connect these dots that the lower self wants us to connect because it wants to keep us in a perpetual state of sensitivity, right? No, that's not the way I'm going to live my life anymore. That person is there, that's their journey, and it is a journey. That's the path they have to take, right? I no longer have to protect from this person or this event that's going to happen in my future. I no longer have to be so frantic around a feeling in my body, whether it be an emotion or a physical symptom, because I now understand how untrue the information coming with these feelings and symptoms is, right? Because it's coming from my lower self. And my lower self is simply based on protection. It's not a bad thing. You don't want to fight with it. You don't want to create a tug of war. In fact, in terms of a metaphor, what you really want to focus on is during this tug of war going back and forth, like, oh, it's not that way, it's this way, and it's not that way, it's this way, why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you ruining my life? This sort of thing. You let go, and what happens to the lower self? Falls, right? There's so much force, there's so much tension going on between you trying to do the right thing and your lower self trying to guide you, that there's so much tension in the body that it's impossible for the mind not to get involved and say, wow, there really is a problem here, right? And so you let go of the rope, what happens, right? This person no longer, this lower self no longer has the fuel that they need to maintain its belief systems, right? Because the lower self has a completely different belief system than your middle self does, right? And so we let go of the rope, we let go of it. But at the same time, we have to understand with a health anxiety sufferer, the biggest reason for why they can't let go of the rope. And that is because they believe that the result that they're going to get will happen if in fact they continue to hold on to that very thing they're most afraid to let go of. Okay, if I just hold on, if I just continue to do this, if I just continue to stay in this state, if I just continue to be led by my fear, then I'll get the result, right? And this result could be in the form of, physical health. It could be in the form of relationships and having people sympathize with your journey, right? And maybe that's what you're trying to receive. Or it could be financially, financially, because I've unconsciously connected all this anxious energy to getting me where I am right now, making 6 or 7 figures. How can I possibly let go of the rope completely? It's gotten me to this point. So as you can see, the health anxiety, below it is anxiety, and below the anxiety itself is suppressed feelings and suppressed emotions that have been compounding over all these years compounding, the compounding effect, right? And we've created all these synapses in our brains, all these connections that all of a sudden now we're starting to question and go, is this really the truth? And so what happens when you stop being directed by the lower self in terms of all this catastrophe, and the middle self either starts to respond or becomes unresponsive, either way there's a conscious response, then the higher self shows up. And when the higher self shows up, there's ease. When the higher self shows up, there's trust, there's faith. You are in a life cycle, right? You were born, you go through life, in my eyes, looking to replace some of the built-up karma, so that when you come back to this lifetime, in the next lifetime, you don't have to relive the same things that you're reliving. You don't have to go through the same struggles you went through. You might as well take care of it in this lifetime, so you don't have to do it again in the next one. Your beliefs are totally up to you. My beliefs are up to me. I'm not going to convince you one way or another, right? But this is what I believe. And so when you live a life of ease, then you're no longer stuck in trying to, stuck in self-centeredness. And in today's world, there is self-centeredness no matter where you go. Everybody's fighting for themselves. There's no more us, there's only I. In every single sentence you talk to someone, it's always about I am, I have, I'm going, right? And these sorts of things. And can that perpetuate anxiety as a whole? Absolutely, right? And too many times in the health anxiety journey, the lower self convinces us that we are the body. And as long as we continue to feel that we are the body and nothing more than that, right? There is no other form of intelligence that may be running the body. There is no source energy or God that I believe in. There's nothing. There's only the body, right? As long as you continue to believe that I am the body, you will continue to allow fear to dictate all the decisions that you make throughout your days, until you get to a point where the conscious or the middle self starts to respond to the lower self. And then after all that responding, you start to let go of that thing, right? And now you allow your higher self to lead. And the higher self, it feels like there's a lot of intelligence lost when you allow the higher self to dictate your own decisions, and you allow to surrender to things and let them go and let them be. Then you realize that you have a body. You are not, it's no longer I am the body, I have a body. I have a body, right? And when you start to think in this way, I have a body, then you're no longer so protective over the body. When your higher self starts to lead, right, and you feel this non-resistance to things, then it's no longer good or bad. It's just basically life, and it's another teaching lesson that somebody has to go through, or you have to go through, right? We're no longer separating things as it's this way or that way. We're no longer compartmentalizing, right? And we're no longer looking to protect ourselves from each and every situation that arises throughout our day in relation to health anxiety, because we realize how we're the ones holding on to health anxiety. We're the ones that are doing this to ourselves, right? And I mentioned earlier how the mental health system is broken because from an individual's perspective, right? You go to your governmental support system and you say, I have anxiety and I have these symptoms. Boom. Right? You're just basically a number. And here's the medication that you're going to take, and here's the psychotherapy that I recommend, and most of the time it's costly. Sometimes it's not, I know. But now you're in a place where you're taking something that you don't realize is going to have a positive effect on your symptoms, but will most likely have a negative effect on other areas of your internal world, right? And that has its own potential. Right? And I'm not saying that to scare you if in fact you have or you're going through health anxiety now. I'm just telling you these things so that you can become more aware. Because too often with a health anxiety sufferer, they hear a piece of information, they become frantic. How could that person possibly say that? Or do I have that? Or is my life going in that direction? No, stop allowing the lower self to dictate how you respond to things, right? Because that's not responding, that's reacting. Now you're stuck in psychotherapy, which does not have any kind of spiritual attachment to it. And with psychotherapy, now you're stuck talking about all your stuff and trying to logic your way past the lower self is the weakest way to heal. It never happens. It just doesn't happen. Someone who's had chronic anxiety or health anxiety for a long time is trying to logic their way to a better place with the unconscious sides of them. And it's like this lose-lose battle. It's this back and forth tug of war that we talked about, right? So you have to be aware that logic and reasoning is a very weak way, if in fact you want to call it a way, to overcome health anxiety as a whole. You have to understand that it is the direct communication between your lower self and your middle self that will get you to a better place. It is this direct communication. And now you're building a different relationship with the lower self, saying, you're not so bad. I'm not scared of you. I'm no longer going to distract from you. I'm no longer going to allow your motivations to keep this around to dictate how I see what's taking place. Right? And now there's a whole nother dimension that's opening up to you. Right? So, what is health anxiety? Health anxiety is this chronic state of sensitivity coming from the lower self based around an accumulated amount of energy in relation to fear in your lifetime and generations before you that you are now looking to heal for good. And guess what? You get the opportunity to heal it generationally, right? And it ends with you. This is the approach you have to have. It ends with me. Everything in correlation to health anxiety ends here. Right? Because this is health anxiety. The path towards healing health anxiety is an awakening of sorts. You are waking up from robotic consciousness, right? Stimuli, reaction. That's the way the lower self wants you to live your life. And all of a sudden you're having an awakening. Just this little subtle voice in you that says, oh, maybe it could be this way. Maybe that's not so true. Maybe I don't have to protect from. Maybe I am more capable. Maybe that person isn't so much a threat. Maybe I've been living a lie for basically my entire life in relation to my anxiety. So you're going through an awakening, my friends. You're going through an awakening right now. So wake up from this perpetual state of sensitivity and fear. Yes, it is possible for you to take the fear with you no matter where you go. It's okay to walk it like a dog, but never allow the dog to walk you. This is possible, right? You're taking the dog for a walk, but the dog isn't dragging you left, right, here, and there, right? But instead, we're going this way, and now we're going that way, and this means that, and you can do this, but you can't do that. It's different now. And the way you want to approach it is in a very gentle manner. You're not going to be very good at the start of all this, where the middle self does in fact lead the lower self, right? And you have to understand that this takes complete mastery. When you've mastered yourself and your feelings and your symptoms and your intrusive thoughts, that's when the anxiety starts to go away, because there's no reason for it to be there anymore. Its beliefs have changed. And so, if you're going through health anxiety right now, understand that I've been there. I've been there for many, many years. I was in a very dark place. I went from technique to technique, from method to method, from supplement to supplement. I even dabbled with medication for a short period of time until I realized how difficult it was and what direction it was leading me in, and I didn't want to go deeper into that hole. I can go into that in another video in the future, but if you're going through health anxiety right now, my friends, I want you to understand that it doesn't end here. This is just the beginning, okay? It's just the beginning. A lot of people won't understand what you're going through because they've never been through it, but it's very, very dark. It's very, very challenging. It overtakes every aspect of your life. It makes you feel like you're sick and all these things, but you're not sick, right? You're not sick, and you have the power within you to you don't want to feel like you're bulldozing through health anxiety, but you want to feel like you're gaining deeper clarity, deeper wisdom coming from your higher self. You're downloading different types of information that could be used and applied towards retraining your lower self. That's what you want to feel is happening here, right? And honestly, yes, you can take in information from other people, but please be aware that a lot of people out there that are trying to help you, just be aware. Just question some of their intentions, and just make sure that you're not getting information in regards to health anxiety healing from like a dozen different places, because that'll just lead to confusion and frustration. Just focus on 1 to 3 people, and understand that the best form of knowledge and wisdom that you can receive is from your higher self. And the way you tap into your higher self is you stop giving so much priority and energy and focus to what your lower self is telling you. And once that starts to happen, real information starts to show up in regards to your healing and transformation, and those are the pieces of information that you want to start applying into your life, my friends. But I love you. Health anxiety is a chapter. Please embrace this chapter as best you can. Understand that many of us have been in your shoes, and we've come through it, and so can you, and so will you. I hope to continue to guide you in the future, my friends.